welcome to another episode of Ask Infinity. I am your host, as per usual, Jordan Lindo. And today's Infinity is Sameena. Hi, Sameena. How are you?
Hi, Jordan. I am doing good. How are you this afternoon?
Let me feel into that. You know what? A lot has happened. A lot has happened today. And it's one of those days that I'm reminded of synchronicity and just the understanding that everything is going to be okay. It was one of those days that, it could have gone one way and it just happened to fall into place perfectly. So
Yes.
I'm happy about that. That's pretty much it. But I'm excited to have you on. And I want to start by asking you a question because I heard through the grapevine a little bit of interesting information that I think would be a cool place to start this combo. You ready?
Yes, I am. And when you asked me how I am, Jordan, I said I am good, but you actually brought out the more honest thing is actually I am, to be honest with you. Yes, I'm good. That's true. I mean, better that I'm here with you now in your energy. I mean, it's not like I said, it's always a fun and being in your energy, but I'm also a little bit nervous. So, like I said, this is something like I've never been on your podcast before, so I'm a little bit nervous.
Why are you
But
nervous?
why am I nervous? I guess I don't know. Just I think that pressure or whatever. But I know you said it's just like a conversation, right? So I hope I didn't throw you off, but I just kind of wanted to get that out of the space. Yeah.
No, that's what this podcast is about. It's
Yeah.
people think they know what this podcast is, but they like
Yeah.
when you get on, it's something different.
Yeah.
I think that's very interesting because I don't want to go too far into it because I want to ask this question first, but
Mhm.
I just
Sure.
find it interesting that we get anxious as human beings and we don't know why.
Hmm.
I find that very interesting because that's usually at the bottom of anxiety, like, something you think is there, and then when you look, it's not even there.
Yes. Our heads is an interesting place to be, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Awesome.
So can you ask your question again? I think I just threw us off there. If you don't mind, what was your question?
I didn't ask you yet.
Oh, I thought you had already asked me. Okay, maybe I was just...
No,
See, that's what I'm
no.
saying. Sometimes you're just nervous or you think you
And
heard something that you didn't.
there's one more thing I got to say before I ask you the question.
Sure.
There is no derailing on this podcast. Every direction that you happen to take or we happen to take is relevant to where we need to go. Okay. So
Cool.
that being said, I want to know, and you have to tell us. um, you know, you have done, I think it's 1,615. I'm looking at Facebook Lives in 1,615 days in a row.
Yes.
Where
It's hard to believe, but yes.
yeah, you have this agreement, right? With I would call it a divine agreement
Mhm.
with Scott Gallagher. A lot of you guys listening may not know who he is, but he's a good friend of mine, and I had him on the podcast, and he's a good friend of yours. Um, and you guys call it the 11-11 agreement. What is that? What's that all about?
Well, interesting. Well, first of all, the best way for me to actually answer that, Jordan, is what a lot of people may not know about me because you wouldn't even think it if you like saw me even right now talking on my Facebook lives until I say it. But it's not something I often talk about because it's like, it's just what you talk about kind of persists that belief, right? So I do struggle from, and actually, it's just very recently I noticed it because I would say to myself, I've recovered from depression. I've recovered. That's what my Love 11 agreement did for me. And it did in that time. But it's come back in a way like daily, I do struggle from anxiety, depression, and worry. And some days it's less, and some days it just creeps up on me. And so my Love 11 agreement, I mean, it goes way back 3 years ago. You even came on it, Jordan, 11-11. But this is not about 11-11, the platform. It's not even about what's going on right now. But it all started with the only thing that's proven to take me out of that depression and anxiety in the moment is human connection. But not just connecting with another human being, it's like human connection with no agenda. So for example, 11/11, when Scott did that intervention 3 years ago, for some people who don't know, I was going through deep depression, anxiety, just lost my career. You know the story. You were one, I think, one of those initial guests that came on, and we had, beautiful conversation with no agenda thing, and people thought, what it like, it's kind of weird, but then they liked it, right? It was just like a conversation, no selling or anything. Yeah, and then Scott, I mean, but the whole purpose of that was to have daily human connection. So every day when I had my studio, which I don't anymore because COVID, you know, basically tarnished that with social distancing, and I had to start things all over. I didn't have my studio anymore. But back in the day in 2017, when Scott created Love 11 for me, I had a guest. The whole idea was to have a guest in the studio every single day. Now, at first, Scott would get the guests for me because I was so much in depression. I couldn't even think or like type or anything. So he got me started, but he didn't get all my guests for me. Then once I learned from him, then I started getting my own guests, right? And he would just helped me out. So the whole idea was to have a guest in the studio every day. And it was on or before 11 a.m. because the whole idea was that I wake up because I was so depressed, I would even sleep in. Even today, if I don't have anything to wake up to, I can sleep in probably to like 11 o'clock a.m., believe it or not. Right. But if I know, like, for example,
Just
there's this
11?
thing, maybe that's another. Well,
That's
for
not
me, I'm
bad.
like, that's late. I think like sometimes 10 a.m. is late. I'm like, oh my gosh, 9:30. What am I doing in bed? I gotta be up, right? But
Yeah.
that's what our mind does to us. But that's the truth. Like I can sleep in till like odd hours. Um, but my point is like, yeah, 11 a.m. because Scott knew, okay, that was like not so, it's not like I'm sleeping in anyways, but I will wake up for a guess. It's not too early for me because at the time it was like, it was really deep, right? I was still in the beginning stages of my depression and isolation and all that. So I had to go live with that guest on their timeline. But the whole idea was there's no agenda to just have a conversation with them. And I would have experience that human connection. Every time I experience that human connection, I would get out of my anxiety and my vibration would be happier. And the more consistently that happened, even Scott's side, I would just like, it was like I was well again. I was recovered. And then when I didn't have a guest anymore, I mean, so when I didn't have a guest one day, that's where my level of agreement came in because the whole idea was it started with my own well being. Then I'd go live on my own timeline till there was, someone who commented. Like there had to be a like or love was not enough for connection. They had to like literally say, type hi, then, and I had to say hi back or any comment as long as I was live while they commented and they were live while I commented back. So that's the whole idea of the agreement. And now
What if
that there's
nobody
no,
comments?
then I would just stay on my timeline. Do you know how many times at first I would
What?
go live? Sometimes 5 times on different timelines. In the beginning, this was 3 years ago, I'd be sometimes crying and like fighting with Scott. He's like, no, you're gonna regret it. Like he would just be nudging me in his gentle way, like you're gonna regret it if you don't do your Facebook Live today. And we like, I don't want to. No one's commenting. And I was like, but now it's like I go, it's like maybe 5 minutes. Sometimes it may take 15 minutes depending the time of day, but it's like no problem for me to get someone to comment. But back then, yeah, that was the challenging part of it. But that was only if I didn't have a guest that day in the studio. Like if they canceled or I couldn't get one, but in the first like 3 months or year, whatever, like I'd almost have a guest every day in the studio, right? Now the whole point now when COVID happened, everything kind of decimated. My studio was gone. So there was no guests anymore. There's no one to come anymore. And just going live, even though I still keep this agreement going live every day, because it's like a spiritual thing for me. It's like I got to do it for the rest of my life, but that's not enough to take me out of anxiety anymore. Like just going live with the phone on my own, right? There needs to be that presence of a human connection, like how me and you are talking right now. And so
Mhm.
Scott created this other thing, booking, which you kind of know about because you're part of it too, Jordan. And the whole point for me is it's even a deeper level of human connection. It's like passing on that message in the book you want to master the most, whether it's law of attraction, a marketing book. And what I just got present to, I just had a booking session this morning. It's like taking that book off the shelf and implementing it in your life in a way where you would have never implemented it if it wasn't through booking, like real human connection, right? So that's what now gets me out of anxiety and worry. It's just a different form, but it's still human connection. And that's all. And like I said, I'll keep my love and agreement for like the rest of my life. And that's why Scott's going to be part of my life. I'm going to be working with him. Why? For the rest of my life, because I like, again, we have this agreement that kind of turned into a business agreement too, because he had to bribe me at first because I needed an incentive to go live every day, right? It wasn't just enough for me to do it for myself. So he's like, if you go live until someone comments every day, if you don't have a guest in the studio, you can get 2 hours of my time for free the next day. In the beginning, he would be doing the broadcasting, the producing for me, and all that of my shows for free, 2 hours I would get. And then when that purpose was achieved, I didn't need that anymore. We found creative ways to honor that agreement. So
Okay,
I'm
hold on
like,
a
yeah,
second. Hold on,
sure.
because this you said a lot there.
Yeah,
You said a lot there. Okay, so the first thing I heard was there's anxiety happening, and booking is helping you get out of anxiety.
yeah, out of my head for that day.
Okay. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
So, number one question for you is, have you ever looked at what's the cause of the anxiety?
That's the thing. It could be many things. There's not just one cause. The thing is, I actually go through depression, anxiety, like anything can trigger me, right? Especially if my state is low, my energy is low. It's just like, trust me, I've been asking myself that question. What's the cause of this anxiety or this anxious feeling I feel? And sometimes it's circumstantial and sometimes it just creeps up and I don't know why. And I'll be like worrying about, real, like what an average person doesn't really worry, like really takes it to the extreme, right? For example, if I hear a family member has back pain, now I'm going to go into anxiety about them. Oh my gosh. And all these worst case scenarios are going to creep up in my mind, right?
So, do you
Now,
consider yourself a highly sensitive person?
I never kind of thought of those words, but maybe, I don't know.
I just heard this term. They call it HSP. I
Mhm,
was in a clubhouse room, and there's like a lot of people out there that have created a space on Clubhouse for highly sensitive people,
mhm,
and a lot of what they're saying in that room, and a lot of what you're saying right now is very similar. And a lot of what my experience is I can hear it in you because highly sensitive people usually pick up energy from people around them, and
mhm.
and then it's magnified, right? And then it's overwhelming. So I'm just thinking maybe that's something that is present in your experience. I don't know, but it sounds like it. Usually highly sensitive people are the ones who are overwhelmed with anxiety because to me, and maybe you can correct me, sensitivity comes hand in hand sometimes with anxiety,
Mhm.
if you're not like grounded, maybe because you can't be anxious if you're not sensitive.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's a good way of putting at it. Putting putting it. Yes, I would say I am a sensitive person, and it depends on the circumstances. And I just got present as you're talking, Jordan. Also, this past year, like a lot has happened in my life that's probably also what I know has contributed to my anxiety and my worry this
Yeah.
past year. Yes, with COVID, studio shutting down, having to go online and learn this whole new way of marketing now, right? And also my grandmother dying and my best girlfriend dying very suddenly on the same day, May 28th, and then getting, harassed by my landlord, almost being evicted twice. So going through all of that all in 1 year, right? So, it's I know that's contribute to the anxiety. Has it end, even though that's over now? But again, call it, I don't know what, I don't want to label it trauma or whatever it is. And I don't take medication at all. Right? I mean, I've been advised to by a doctor who I've been seeing, but I just want, and maybe it's for my own spiritual, religious reasons. And that's why this whole booking thing is the only solution for me. It's not a cure, though. It's not a cure, but it's a solution for me. So that's why I know I'll be doing booking for the rest of my life, because that's the only thing that helps me get out of my anxiety and my worry
Why
and
do you
puts me
think
in a,
that is?
why do I think that is? Well, like kind of 11:11, I'm present to another human being. Yes, this time it's over Zoom, right? But I think with booking, it's also more meaningful because I know that somehow I'm being of maximum service to that other person. Like that's the intention, like a level of no agenda. It's like I'm just in that, like passing on that message, whatever they're gonna get. I know I'm. It's like I'm kind of being used or something to be of service, to be a contribution, because there are a lot of people in this tribe too. You won't even know, like myself, who do go through anxiety and depression and need this as well, because if I could just give you an example, you had our newest member join today, and Scott took her through this book, Ask and Is Given, which I know you have too, Jordan. And he went through the process with her, and she was at level 22 in the book. Level 22 is grief, depression, the lowest of the low. And after Scott booked her, I knew this because she did her social sharing video. We do social sharing videos right after the booking session. She said she went just in that session from 22 to a level 3, which is happiness, right? So,
Or was that short term though? That's the question. And I want to give our
mhm,
listeners context
sure.
to the
Yeah.
the rating system that's used in this book.
Yeah.
It's a pretty wide range. One
Mhm.
being absolute, being ecstatic, joy, and all that stuff, and
Appreciation.
22
Yeah.
appreciation. 22 being like the absolute low, depression, like suicidal thoughts, like whatever the
Yeah.
lowest is.
Negative thoughts.
So
Yeah.
that's a huge range. So for her to be at 22
Mhm.
is alone saying something.
Yeah.
Um, and for her to then experience something and then be saying that, okay, I'm at a 3, even if it's short term. I don't know if I'm not going to assume that any of her problems were fixed, but
Yeah.
that's still something. I think that's something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was like, whoa, right? And just when I'm
Yeah.
about to do this podcast with you, like, I have no idea where it's going to go or what exactly we're going to get into. You're just having some intention. But it was like, wow, just watching. And that's why I love these videos when we share right after what the value we get. It was like a huge contribution to me because it had me look at things from a different perspective in terms of my worry by just watching her video. But sorry, yeah, go ahead. You were saying, yeah, it's a huge range. So, that's true. It's a huge, huge jump. And that's what it has a capability to do. It's like magic happens, but it doesn't just it's not just like it just happens. It happens in this because we are present to that other human being, and there's no agenda. There's no agenda to get anything from them. right, in that moment. And so all we are present to is passing on that message that they're meant to get in that moment, and they'll get what they're supposed to get, like she did for herself. Like she's
Mhm.
completely new to this. She had had no idea about these teachings, right? And just for, yeah, so she's like came in not even knowing what this is.
So do you think because I hear you say you want to book for the rest of your life. So is booking like become your prescription?
That's a good way of, I never thought of it as that kind of, well, I know for one thing it replaces exercise for me because even exercise does not get me that higher vibration faster. Because I have tried it, even though it does give me that, you know,
Euphoria?
boost, but it's not as, it's like sometimes it's not consistent, it's not reliable. And even meditation is not. Like I love listening to
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
music
whoa, whoa,
for
whoa,
me.
whoa, whoa. We're not gonna talk down on meditation on this show.
No, no, sorry, I didn't mean it that way. But I mean,
No, no,
for
no. It's okay.
me,
It's
my
okay.
experience, yeah.
But I would like you to elaborate on that because
Yeah.
there's a part of me that is triggered, and so
Hmm.
I want to bring that trigger to light. Um,
Yeah.
when you say not even meditation, because that could be your experience. Who am I to tell you your experience is wrong?
Yeah, that's what I meant,
I
just
just
for me, right? I'm not negating meditation. I mean, I know it works wonders for many people. And it's not that it doesn't work for me, it's just it takes longer for me and it's not reliable to get out of my head. And that's what I meant. Like meditation could be many different things to different people. When I say meditation, for me, meditation is like listening to music because that's something I love to do as a hobby, right?
so
Yeah.
so how do you meditate? Because this is something that comes up for me a
Mhm.
lot. People have different ideas about meditation, and some people love it, some people hate it, and so I always ask, what is meditation to you? Because I like to know what people are practicing and and get an idea of what their experience is. So, like, what is meditation to you? Like what does it look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, meditation, when I think of meditation for me, like going for a walk, listening to music, I remember in the past I used to do more of that when I would take public transportation to work, right? Before even I knew about booking, I would have, my headphones on and no one talked to me because this is my time. There was like I would walk 15 minutes to work because that's where I was. Get off the bus, and I'd have to have my music, and that would help
50
ground me.
or 1 5?
15, 1 5, 15,
Okay.
15, yeah. But that worked for me at the time. But now it's like, again, you see, like you need an incentive, right? Like going live every day. I don't go to a job anymore. I'm a solopreneur, right? So I'm not going to feel motivated to go out for a walk every day like I used to. It's like I'm out of that habit, right? So that's meditation to me, or just sitting and sometimes washing the dishes. It depends on the day, and listening to music, you know? Or when I'm cleaning and I'm listening to music, that's, to me, that's meditation, right? So when I say meditation, like everyone has, their own ways of meditating, but it's not reliable. It's not like I clean every day listening to music and I feel better and get out of my anxiety. So that's what I meant. For me, it's hard to sit still. I mean, when you say meditation can mean like when you're just not thinking. I don't know what it's like not to think, right? Because even when I'm sitting still, there's still thoughts, even positive thoughts can go through your mind. Like I still today, it's like I may have had that experience before, but I don't know what it's like to just allow your thoughts to go and not even think, right? And just so that is hard for me to do.
It's hard for us all to do. Because I was just having this conversation with my brother, and
Yeah.
he made me realize that the world, I think I knew this subconsciously, but I didn't have an intellectual understanding. So he helped me intellectually understand that the world is built in a way that consumes your attention in a fast pace. So
Mm-hmm.
you wake up, right? If you're on social media, you're on social media already. You're caught in the whirlwind of go 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 go. If you're not, you're on your way to work. What's happening? People also on their way to work. Everyone's
Mm-hmm.
moving. Everyone's moving. You're on the train, right? And so it's like when you live in a world that is so fast paced, it has an effect on you, right? And
Yeah.
so it's like, I think we all need a way to counter that, and we all have different ways of doing that. So yeah, I agree with your definition of meditation. I think however you can slow things down, that's
Yeah.
meditation. I like to sit in silence though, because sitting in silence, it really shows you, if you can. I know a lot of people are like really, it's really hard to sit in silence. You need to
Oh,
build up to that. But when you sit in silence, it shows you all of the things that you think. And I thought watch. That's what I call it. I thought watch. It shows you all of the things that you think on repeat. I remember one time I was meditating and I was just like sitting in silence, and I saw myself thinking in a loop like this, the same like two thoughts. I went like this, then like that, then like this, then like that. And I'm like, I didn't even realize I had a program like this running all the time. And that's why
yeah.
I like sitting in silence, because it gave me the opportunity to be like, oh, there's things that I'm doing that are like unconscious programs that I need to be aware
Mm-hmm.
of, because they're always going, and like they're creating my reality.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I was going with that, but I just had to express that.
I hear you, and that is true. And this is what I mean. Like, see, for an average person, sitting in silence could be a real good thing, right? In my experience, I think I sit too much in silence, and it's not good for me because my head goes and goes into these negative spirals. And that is the anxiety for me that creeps up, right? So that's why it's like when I'm meditating, like booking is a form of meditation that takes me to that higher vibration faster and more consistently, never fails. Because for me, when I get like, again, if it wasn't for that, things were going down, down, down for a whole year, I would have lost everything. Like it's like we say, mindset or whatever, almost lost everything, right? But it's, and just that's why what happens is when I'm sitting too much on my own, I can't stop the thoughts sometimes, right?
But why do you want to
Yeah.
stop them? This is something I hear all the time. I think it's impossible. It's impossible
Well,
to stop thoughts.
well, that's the
And why would
thing
you
with,
want? Thoughts are a beautiful thing. Why would you want to stop thoughts?
oh, well, like I said, when thoughts are extreme, all of a sudden you're thinking about things like death, right? Like that's where my mind goes, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Worry or what loss am I going to experience next? And that's not good for me because that's what brings out the anxiety. And then it's like before I can control it, I've gone down and I can't function anymore.
Oh, okay. So
That's
hold
what
on.
I
Let's dive into
meant.
this, because this is juicy. This is juicy. Okay, so I want to take this very slow, because
Mhm.
this is a very sensitive spot for most of us. I think we've all
Right.
experienced that. You're in meditation, then all of a sudden you're thinking about killing babies, and it's like, I don't want to kill babies. All of these dark thoughts, they come from I don't know where. Like I've had some pretty dark thoughts myself,
Mm.
and man, it is tough. It is tough. But you know what works for me. Um, I think the best thing about dark thoughts is not being attached to them. I think someone told me this. Someone told me their thoughts are just like kind of floating. Like, and a lot of the thoughts that are floating in, like, I call it mass consciousness. So like the soul of all humanity is like, they're dark thoughts. And because especially you're a sensitive person, so I know you experience it kind of similar. But
Mhm.
we, as highly sensitive people, we pick up on all these thoughts that other
Mhm.
people are thinking, and it's like I don't want to be a part of that thought. Like that's how I feel. But
Mhm.
what I started to realize too was that's not my thought.
Mhm.
That's what helped me. Like I had to sit with that and be like, oh, this isn't really my thought, and just let it like come and not be attached to it, and then eventually it just goes.
Yeah, yeah. Harder for me to do, but I see what you're saying. You raise a very good point, and you ask a very good question because, yeah, it's a very sensitive topic to other for other people. And I say for me, death is like I'm not so afraid of my death, but more people around me, right? Even when I hear something about death now, I mean, and you would think for someone coming from the grief world would be more comfortable with that, right?
Hmm.
But that's just a real sore subject for me. I don't always talk about it, of course. And I'm not saying that's the only place where my thoughts go, but I'm just giving an example with extreme places. Like it's like really extreme when I'm left alone in my head, right? So the more I can get out of my head faster, then the more momentum I can get into the positive vibrations. Such for some of us, that's meditation. For me, I have just a different ritual of meditation. That's through booking. That's the only thing for me, my experience that really works. And it's that human connection, right? That whole human connection piece. It's not just let's read this book. It's so like, feels abundant. The words are so powerful, but it's doing it through like human connection. Like there's the other person, the other end you're connecting with, right? And that always gets me out of my head faster than anything else would, quite honestly.
Amazing. I think you guys might be onto something. I mean, it's kind of biased for me to talk on the booking experience because I'm in that space.
Mhm.
It's funny because I'm not in the booking space to not I wouldn't say avoid. Avoid is a strong word, but I'm not in the booking space to um, get rid of anxiety.
Mhm.
I'm in the booking
Yeah.
space because of the community and because I like the format. So maybe I'll let you talk about it. Like, do you want to talk a bit about the booking experience, like how what's involved and how it's how what the experience is like?
Um, sure. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's like I said, whenever someone is introduced, like comes into it, and I'll start with like yourself, Jordan. You had a conversation with Scott, he mentioned something cool, you're like, yeah, I'm in, let me try it out. Don't know what it is. And for you, may be different because you're not in it for how some of us are in to help us with the get rid of the anxiety and depression as a solution. And some of us are in it because we want to be a contribution to other people, like we thrive off of that. And I could say I'm both, right? But I'm doing it for me too, yeah, because of the anxiety. And I've realized I'm more like when I don't do it, don't have that experience. Like if I don't do it for 2, 3 days, like I'm not booking someone, I'm saying booking, you're in that space. Like whether it is like what we have, Asna's given, we have some marketing books in the collection, like 11 books, that whether solopreneurs, whoever can choose from. But when you're in that space and you're going to be booking, like not being booked, but passing it on, the
Sorry, Samina.
experience. Yeah,
I'm sorry. I was trying
yeah.
not to cut you off, but I want
Oh,
to be super
sure.
clear so that
Mhm.
because I know our listeners are probably wondering what the hell is booking. So can you just
Okay.
like tell us what booking is?
All right. What booking is, like I say, you've got to really experience it, right? So, yeah, it's not, well, first of all, it's not just reading a book, right?
Hmm.
It is, and that's what I was just trying to explain. Booking is, you're going through a section of the book together. We never read through the whole book, right?
Hmm.
And we pick a section that probably we want to take that person through that'll be most valuable for that person based on where they are at. And there's this, very creative. I know you know about Jordan, the color coding system we use with the 6 colors, and we highlight, certain phrases or words that bring the book to life for us, that help us comprehend the material better. So, like how in the beginning I said think of that book that, I think many of us may have that book on the that we buy and we think we have a good intention to read it, even whether it's a law of attraction book. I know for myself, like let me I don't have a book here, so it's on. I'm clearing my physical space. I've actually found a bookshelf now for all the books. So it's like I'm not going to get up and go and get it, but whether it's as is given is what we started with, because that's what Scott chose me during COVID, because it was the closest one that had to do with the program, because it had these 22 processes, right? And then I just began to share with other people. So where was I at? Is like, think of that book, but you have good intentions, you're going to read it, and it's lying there for a year, maybe sometimes 2 years, and you haven't even opened it or read it. So this, like being this booking experience, it has us take that book that we so had good intentions to read and put it in our life by actually now forcing us to go through, starting with one section of the book and sharing it, like we're actually being the seeker and the guide together. It's like the teacher and the student together, and we're going through a section, we're sharing our experience. What does this mean to us? Highlighting, like we have these different color coding systems that, for example, oranges, this is so powerful, it's like more personalized, right? So powerful to us that we want that to stand out. Green is for, is this something you want to take action on right now, so it doesn't all feel so overwhelming, right? That's the whole experience. It's like we're going through a section of the book together, right? When we're being the booker, we're actually
Mm.
responsible for that person understanding the content and the message of that book, and we make sure they comprehend it. For example, today, Scott took this, she's 17, 18 years old, from Malaysia, newest member, came in, and she has no idea about the law of attraction, like no clue, like doesn't even know the word, couldn't even comprehend the word resistance because she's that new. So Scott just booked her in one little section. She was at 22, and he had to like explain certain words, like what does resistance means, what does this mean, till she got in, she understood it. And that one little section he took her through, he didn't even take her through the whole chapter. It was probably like one paragraph or two paragraphs he booked her in. She went from 22 to like number 3 in the processes, which is the levels of emotions for people who don't know about ask and is given, the processes. That's an example of what booking is and booking does every time. When you're in that space of booking with no agenda, like there's nothing to gain from that person, but just being that contribution, making sure that it's our role that they get that message in that 1 hour or half an hour that we're actually in that experience with them, right? And then they share what the value that they got from that experience. So, and the person receiving it is allowing the person who's actually booking to be a contribution to them and making it easier for them, right? So it's supposed to be enjoyable, fun, and not hard. I
I
hope that
just I just
explains it
got it.
better.
Yeah. You did a good job there. I just realized myself though what makes it so good. And I don't care if this sounds like a promotion, but um, I think I like the fact that you guys, it's like you pick up these really amazing books and then you nibble at it. So I don't know if anyone else out there experiences this, but like sometimes reading an entire book is, um, and this could be a bad thing, but reading an entire book doesn't appeal to you. That could be an attention thing. Maybe you don't have the attention span to get through the entire book, or maybe it's not exciting enough. I don't know. But for whatever reason it is, you have an entire book. You don't want to read the entire book, but you want to still get the value out of the book. That to
Mhm.
me was now I'm realizing why I like this environment, because you get to like pick up a really awesome book. And like you were saying, some of these books, like one chapter in one of these books could be enough to save your life. Like one, like it doesn't matter. I read, like you were saying, we read marketing books in there. One section from a marketing book could change your entire marketing strategy. And it's like, obviously, if you read the entire book, then the value obviously compounds. But if you don't want to read the entire book, at least you can get some of that value, right? And so
Mhm.
I think it appeals to a certain type of person. Um, there are people who are avid readers who don't have this problem. They just pick a book up because it excites them and they go like this.
Oh yeah, there are some people who do that. I'm not one of those people.
Neither am I.
So it's like, get me to read as soon as given without, being in this booking experience. It wasn't going to happen. Good
Exactly.
intentions, but yes, it like brings that book into your life. And I think you explained it just better, Jordan, like what you said. And it also another thing, it could also, if you're a person who gets overwhelmed easily, like me, with all these courses and books and so much to learn, and oh my gosh, what do I follow here? Like, I'm so overwhelmed. Like I suffer for that from that too. And that's when the anxiety comes in. Well, booking also resolves that because it's like, you're right, we pick that one right section. And if that's the only thing I can implement in my life, maybe next month or next week, and that's in green, then that's the only thing I do. And I don't have to worry about the rest right now.
That's another thing. You
Right?
just you just hit something else. It takes the
Mhm.
excuse away. Because
Yeah.
usually people, and this is my experience, I don't want to say people, I want to say me. Usually when I look at a book that I want to read, it's like it's kind of daunting because I'm not talking about like pamphlets. I'm talking about 500 pages minimum, these types of books.
Mhm.
And when you're booking, it's like, okay, you don't have to read the entire book, which kind of takes the pressure off. And it's like you just like one chapter at a time. It's like, what is it called? There's an expression for this. Like one step at a time. I know it sounds
Mhm.
corny, but it's like when you take these small steps, all of a sudden you build a staircase, right? So um, I think that's what really appeals to me about this environment, this booking environment, is that you take something big and you make it small and you make it consumable.
Exactly. You just said it. It's more comprehensible and less overwhelming, because our mind can go 10 different places for some of us. And it helps us focus and we get some inspirational ideas at the same time by just sharing.
So I have a question for you. What do you do for fun? Because I see you online, and it
Mhm.
seems like you're doing something that involves business most of the time. So it seems like
Mhm.
you're a pretty busy person. But what do you do when you're off the clock? Like, what do you enjoy doing?
Well, that's a good question, Jordan, because for the last 3 years, I feel like I've been a series of passion projects. That's really my business is my fun. Honestly, it's like it's not two separate things. I used to have two separate things when I was more working, in a job. It was like, I'd have my job, my paid job, and then I would, do things over the weekend if I didn't bring work home. I was a
Mm-hmm.
workaholic, believe it or not. And from my journey and experience over the since 2017, I've just learned to really focus on what makes me happy and chill out a little bit. Does that always work out when I'm always chilled out every day? Of course not. I mean, to mention a few things, I'm getting more back into listening to music because that used to be my favorite thing, listening to music.
What
And then
kind of
for a
music?
lot, I like country music.
Oh my!
You can
You're
laugh.
like the literal opposite of everyone I asked that question. Everyone is
Uh,
like everything but country.
but honestly, my favorite music is like Indian music. I listen to that, right? Um, yeah. Of the 90s when I was a little kid and I used to just enjoy, listening. Like it brings back lethargic memories for me. Those are good memories with my mom, that when I used to watch movies with her more and, of my childhood, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I like Indian music. In fact, just before our podcast here, I'm like, okay, what can calm me down right now? And I normally don't do this, but I'm like, because I'm all sometimes in my mind, I'm like, oh, I have less time. I've got an hour till my interview with Jordan. I still gotta finished preparing, but you know what? I'm just going to calm down and take a few minutes and listen to some music. And I did that. And when I was ready to get back to it, I got back to it, right? So I'm learning to just chill out more. So to answer your question, I think as a solopreneur, I've got to just live my life as fun is not separate from business. It's like it has to be together because I am on the clock probably 24/7, right? With what I do, because I gotta be, for myself. And whether that's with booking, right? Yes, I say that's before I start my work day, but it's part of my life now, right? Whatever that's going to turn into, it's going to turn into, but I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because this is what I need to do most in my life right now, my one thing. But if you're looking for anything extra, I love watching soap operas. So if you could
Ooh, which
say
ones?
that's what
Which
I do for
ones?
fun.
General Hospital?
No, no, not General Hospital. You probably
Young and the
think I'm
Restless?
crazy. Yes. The Young and the Restless and The Bold and the Beautiful are the two main ones because I've been watching those when I was a kid.
Of course, the
So
Nikes and the Adidas of soap operas.
Like when I tell Scott this, he's like, how do you even like bear that stuff?
He doesn't understand the intricacies and
I think it's a
the
drama, right?
complexity
There's
of
not
soap
enough drama
operas.
in my life, so there's the drama. No, but I think The Bold and the Beautiful because on it, like I had to reflect on it. I think it's like seeing the fancy Hollywood style and the business and stuff, right? It's just like I don't know, I think it's just I've been like it's kind of ingrained in me. So I can't imagine my life without soap operas, honestly.
No, I'm right there with you. My grandmother, God rest her soul, um, she raised me for a good time, and she always had them on. So it was like something that it's a treasured thing for me. Whenever I think about soap operas, I think about the time that I spent with her. So it was just one of those things. And you're right,
Yes,
the
for
the,
my
the
childhood.
drama.
Yes, the draw is like, oh wow, what's gonna happen next? Oh, I don't like her. Oh no. And then, so yes, speak of fun, that's what I like to do sometimes before I go to bed, right? And I love thriller and suspense movies to add a bit of spice, edge of your seat stuff, horror movies, believe it or not.
I don't believe that. That surprises me, to be
No?
honest, but
Well,
cool.
that's something new. I love edge of your seat stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask one more question and then we're gonna wrap this up. And I'm
Sure.
excited to see how you answer this question. You
Mhm.
probably prepared for it because Scott probably told you, but it's okay. I will ask it anyways.
Mhm.
So, Samina, Samina, I'm gonna ask it a few different ways and you just answer it in the way that mostly resonates for you, okay? Or you can
Okay.
answer all combination of the question. What is infinity? What does infinity mean to you? How do you experience infinity? What does infinity feel like? What does it look like? What is infinity?
All right. I don't think if I can remember all those in one, but I'll do my best. And before I answer that, Jordan, before you wrap up, just so you're prepared for it, would you mind if I ask you a question before we wrap up?
Sure. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. So the first question, thanks. So what is infinity? Is that what was the first
Yeah, answer
question?
that one.
Infinity. That was interesting because I really honestly, Joe, I didn't really think of the word infinity till I met you. So whenever so whenever I hear the word infinity, I think of you honestly and think of, but really when I reflect on it, infinity to me, what comes to mind is synchronicity, alignment. Those are the two words that come to mind with infinity. And what was the second one?
They were all pretty much the same question. Like, what is it?
Oh,
What
okay.
does it
Thought,
feel like to you? What does it
does
look
it
like?
feel like? It feels peace. When I think of infinity, it feels probably peaceful, just alignment. genuine. Kind of when I think of infinity, I think of like together. It's like all together and it fits well together. That's what
Beautiful.
comes to me, into my mind right now. So, um, in one word, like for me, if you think of infinity, I think like for me, if this even makes sense, booking is completely infinity for me because that's in
Why?
complete alignment. Why? Because of just what I said, it feels like it's like this force whenever I'm in this energy of booking. It's like for that time my worries have gone away. It's not that my circumstances have changed right then and there. Like I could still have less money, or my grandmother, has still died and I'm still grieving her, right? It's not the circumstances could be the same, but it's like the thoughts and the energy. It's like I feel happier. It's like for that time, that moment, the world is okay again. The world, I'm going to be fine. And that's the feeling. And I know from everything I've learned with law of attraction, whatever, it's like feeling the happiness first before the circumstances have to change. So I've just really experienced whenever it has anything to do with booking, for me, it feels peace. It feels like I'm in the right path for myself. And that is infinity. You're on the right path, right?
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Okay, thank you. So normally
Yes.
I would end the podcast there, but you said you have a question for me, so I'll answer that and then we'll wrap after
Sure.
that.
Well, thanks for the opportunity for having me ask. Allow me to ask you this question on your podcast. I'm just really curious because you just mentioned if you feel it's appropriate for you to answer, what is booking to you? Based like if you don't have to even say what I said, but when you say booking, what is like you have been kind of the booker and being booked, and what is the difference between the two experiences? Like, would you say being the booker is way more, whatever? Like, what is that experience for you? What does that mean to you?
So for me personally, it just depends on how I'm feeling, I guess. Like it just depends. Like on certain days, I prefer booking someone because I would prefer to be more active.
Mhm.
And on some days, I prefer to be passive. So I prefer someone else is booking me. So
Yeah.
it just depends on my emotional state at that time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for answering that question honestly for yourself.
Did that answer the question, or I feel like there was
Um,
more?
Well, I guess just in general, maybe because I kind of confused it, but maybe I asked two questions in one. I was just trying to kind of get more clear. It's like, yeah, what now that you have experience it, what is booking to you? What does that mean to you?
Uh, that's a good question, actually. I think what comes to mind is what I realized you guys are creating was more than like a book club, because at first I thought it was a book club, to be
Yeah.
honest. And I think I was booking John, or I was being booked. I can't remember. I think I was booking John, and I realized we were reading through something, and then I stopped and I said, "Hey, John, what is that? Like, how do you feel about that?" And then John was like, yeah, "Shouldn't we just continue reading?" Or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, and I'm like, "No, let's actually, let's take some time and let's dig into this a little bit." And then we just got to talking about how what we were reading at that particular time was like affecting or reflecting in our life. And then I'm like,
Mm.
when looking back on the session, I'm like, John, man, that was an incredible, like, back and forth. And I realized, okay, this is more than a book club. This is
Mm.
like an opportunity to um, integrate at lightning speed what you're reading. So usually you read a book and then you get like all these amazing downloads, and then it's just it ends there, right? There's no practicality to it. And what I like about what you guys have going on is it's very practical. So you get one of these amazing books, you dive into a small section of it, and then you implement on that section. That's the biggest thing is we don't implement on what we are consuming. So the booking, it allows you to implement on what you're consuming in real time.
Mm, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. You said it better than I could have put into words. So thank you.
Awesome. And with that being said, thank you guys, my
Okay.
listeners. I appreciate you. I love you. That is another episode of Ask Infinity. And I hope that you have a blessed day, week, month, life, and peace.